Morning, students. In last class, we have started the third unit. In that, we have discussed about the topic that is uh, distributed objects and what is the importance of distributed object. Okay, see the diagram which we have seen how the distributed objects in the client machine and server machine. First, we need to know what is a skeleton and what is a stub. Here, see, in the client machine, first the client invokes a method. Client invokes a method that will be passed through proxy. The entire request client invocation will be sent. It will be marshaled across the network. See, that is what they mentioned here. Marshaled invocation. The invocation is marshaled and it is passed across the network. And once it was reached to the server, here is this CZ skeleton. What is the, you know about skeleton and stub in Java? Have you ever heard about this? Yes. The skeleton is like an object, acts as a gateway for the server side object. It is acts as a gateway for the server side object. Okay. Here, what is the responsibility of skeleton? Here, the main responsibility of skeleton is the incoming request. Incoming request means the invocation will be sent from the client machine to server machine. All the incoming requests are routed to it. See here, the client invocation through this proxy, it will be marshaled. It is a marshaled invocation. It's passed along the network and it reaches to the server side. Here, server side, all invocations, see here, all invocation must pass through the skeleton only. All invocations are routed to skeleton. See, it invokes the method. The skeleton invokes the method on actual remote object. Where is the actual remote object? The remote object is on the server machine. Here, the client machine invokes that object. Here, the skeleton invokes the method on the actual remote object and it writes and transmit the result to the caller. See here, in our language, the client machine requested the object on the server. It is the remote object. It is the remote object. See, the client request is passed through proxy and in the network it was passed, and once it was reached to the server side all client invocations are routed through skeleton. Once it routed through skeleton, all the incoming requests are routed through skeleton, right? Then it invokes the method on the actual remote object and it writes and transmit the result to the caller. So in the same way, the invocation has been marshaled like this, right? Here also, the result is also marshaled. This is the request. Only in this diagram we have shown the request. The reply will also sent from the network in the marshaled reply. This is the marshaled invocation, right? The reply is also marshaled. Okay. Here, this is a client machine and this is a server machine. In the server machine, this is the object. This is the remote object. For this remote object, we need to call a method. Okay. For this method, the invocation will be passed through this skeleton. This is an interface between the method and this object. Okay, this is an interface between this method and object. These are the components of the client machine and server machine in the concept of distributed objects. Here, I'm repeating once again, the distributed object is the object was distributed among the machines which is connected in the network. Now moving down to the next topic, next one. What are the design issues of remote method invocation? Okay, in last class we have also, like last class only, we have started this remote method invocation and remote procedure call. Now we are going to discuss about what is the design issue of remote method invocation. Now see, this remote method invocation is having the following semantics. First, see, invocation semantics depends upon the implementation of request and reply protocol used by RMI. See, here RMI means remote method invocation. Remote method invocation, you know about that. Here, which way, which request reply protocol that it was using. We have so many request reply protocol. In that we have group communication, we have client server communication, and we have so many models. First we need to know which request reply protocol that was. It depends upon that one. It may be, see here, it may be used at least once or at most once. See here, once the request has been sent to the, in the above example, what we have seen, the remote object is on the server. The client invokes to access that object. That was distributed object. Here, the invocation semantics depends upon the implementation of request and reply protocol, right? That may be at least once or at most once. The object can be used at least once, or the object can maximum at most once. Okay, it may be two, at least once or at most once. That depends upon the request and reply protocol we are using. Now, first one is transparency. Semantics, the first semantic is transparency. The transparency means, first one, in the transparency we are having issues like partial failures, higher latency, and different semantics for remote object. First we need to know what is a partial failure. Partial failure means a client machine wants to access the object on the, like, not only the client, one machine can access object which was running in the same machine in different process or running in other machine. So that is a distributed object. Sometimes the requested object is not able to access it. The request to object is not able to access it. It is said to be partial failure. Sometimes it will take more time to access that object. Why? Because the requested machine needs to send the invocation to the destination machine to access the object. Okay, for that higher latency, sometimes it may take some higher latency. Higher latency means, latency is nothing but the interval of time. It will take more time to access the object. Okay, these are the concept of partial failures and higher latency time. See, for example, which they have given, wait and notify. Remote invocations should be made transparent in the sense of syntax of remote invocation is same as the syntax of local invocation. See, wait or notify. Wait or notify means once we have requested for an object which is running in the other machine or running in the same machine in other process. Okay, first we need to send the remote invocation. That should be transparent. That should be transparent in the sense the syntax of that remote invocation is the same as the syntax of local invocation. Here, see, in the next point, what the programmers will do to access this. Okay, programmer should be able to distinguish between remote and local objects. Here, local object is once. Local object, what is the meaning of local object? Local object is nothing but an object which is running in the same machine in different process, and the remote object is nothing but it was running in other machine. Okay. See, example for this is Java RMI. In this Java RMI, remote objects implement to remote interface. Okay. In the next slide, we will see how these remote objects are invocated by using client invocation. Next concept, next topic is what are the issues of implementing remote method invocation? What are the issues of implementing remote method invocation? Now, as we are discussing all these methods, method invocation, this stub and skeleton, all these are related to Java. Okay. Now, coming to the issues in implementing of remote method invocation, the first issue is with parameter passing. Okay. All you know about parameter passing in Java. See, you know about parameter passing. The parameter passing, this method is used to pass the parameters to a procedure or function, right? Parameter passing is a technique or mechanism used to pass the parameter to a procedure or a subroutine or a function. Okay. The most common methods. What are the methods? Common methods: call by value and call by reference. Okay, these two are the main methods. This is the one of the issue for passing the parameters to a subroutine. Next one, second issue is the request and reply protocol. This request and reply protocol handling failures at client and server. Sometimes client server communication may take higher latency. Sometimes the communication may be failed. Okay, that depends upon which request reply model that we are using. We are having so many request reply models, right? Client server communication and group communication, okay, etc. Okay. Next, the third issue is with supporting constant objects, object adapters, and dynamic invocation. Supporting. You know about dynamic invocation. All we know about this remote method invocation and remote procedural call. What is dynamic invocation? See here, this one. We know about constant objects, right? We need to know about dynamic invocation. What is dynamic invocation? It is an interface. Dynamic invocation is an interface. It is also called as dynamic invocation interface, DII. Sometimes it is also called as DII, dynamic invocation interface. It is an application interface which allows the dynamic construction of object invocation, which allows the dynamic construction of object invocations, and it is used to complete the it is used at compile time. This particular dynamic invocation interface is used at compile time when the client does not have knowledge about the object it wants to invoke. See here, as I said before, the example in the client machine and server machine, this particular dynamic invocation interface, this is an application interface which is used at compile time. Just note it down, students. It is this dynamic invocation interface is used to, it is an application interface and it is used at compile time. In which case it was used means this was used in the case of whenever the client was not an idea which object it wants to invoke, which object it wants to invoke. In that particular case, this dynamic invocation method will be used. Okay. The major issues with this implementing remote method invocation is passing parameters. Okay, passing parameters. In passing parameters is nothing but it is a process of passing parameters to a subroutine or a function or a program. This will be done through all we know about this. This will be done through call by value and call by reference. And next one is request and reply protocol. This was used, and which type of model that we are using. It will take some. It will deal some failures also in between the client and server. And last one majorly is objects and object adapters, and more importantly dynamic invocation interface. This is an application interface. Okay, see the diagram here. Next topic is implementation of RMI. Here we have taken an example of Java. Yes, this was the implementation of remote method invocation. See here in the diagram, this is the RMI system, remote method invocation system. First, we need to remind about remote method invocation. With respect to Java, what is an RMI? With respect to Java, this RMI, this is a Java remote method. Java remote, this is also called as Java remote method invocation. It is a Java application interface that performs remote method invocation. Here, the object-oriented equivalent are remote procedural calls with the support of direct transfer of serialized. Okay. See, this is RMI system. Below one is RMI system. Left side one is the client side program, and this one is the server side program. Okay. See how it will be done in Java. Have you known about Java virtual machine? This diagram is implementation of RMI. This diagram gives the picture of implementation of RMI. Here RMI stands for remote method invocation, right? It is a mechanism that allows an object residing in one system. That is system. What is that system name? What I am saying, it is a mechanism that allows an object residing in one system. That system is called as JVM, Java Virtual Machine. To access that, to invoke an object running on another JVM. Okay, running in another Java Virtual Machine. Here, the major use of the RMI is to build the distributed application. What is the, anyone ask you, what is the major responsibility of RMI? You need to say RMI is mainly used to build the distributed application. Building the distributed application is nothing but, okay, accessing an object in another, running in another machine, that is JVM. Okay, that builds in accessing the distributed object. Now once again I'm saying, just you need to understand what is the major importance of RMI means. This RMI allows an object residing in one system. Just note it down, students. This RMI allows an object residing in one system, that is Java Virtual Machine, access or invoke an object running in another JVM. Okay, this is the functionality of remote method invocation. See here, what are the components in the client program in the part of RMI system? Stubs and skeletons, remote reference layer, stubs and skeletons, And next one is remote reference layer. First, before going to this, we need to know what is a stub. What is a stub? Have you known about stub? It is like a, first we need to know about skeleton. Skeleton is an object which acts as I told you in the beginning of the class, it is an object. Skeleton is an object which acts as a gateway for the server side object, which acts as a gateway for the server side object. That also I shown. And skeleton and the stub. What is stub? What is the responsibility of the stub and skeleton in client side and server side? I will tell you. This stub and skeleton is both hide some complexity of the communication. Okay, the stub hides the serialization of parameters and the network level communication in order to present a simple invocation mechanism to the caller. First, what is the responsibility of a stub? It hides the serialization of parameters and the network level communication. In order to present a simple invocation mechanism to the caller. That is, caller is nothing but client machine. It provides a simple invocation method. And next, skeleton. Skeleton is responsible for dispatching the call to the actual remote object implementation. Note it down, students. What is the relation between stub and skeleton? Stub, what stub will do? It will provide a network level communication from client to server or one machine to another machine. It provides network level communication in order to present a simple invocation mechanism. Okay, it provides simple invocation mechanism. Next, what skeleton will do? This skeleton is responsible for dispatching the call. Whose call? The client program's call. This skeleton is responsible for dispatching the call to the actual remote object implementation. Actual remote object implementation means the remote object is in another machine. Okay, it is responsible for dispatching that invocation. Dispatching that invocation from caller to server. In this diagram, from caller to server. Now, before explaining this RMI system, we need to note some steps. Just note it down, students. Here it is not present. I am explaining. We need to know some steps while implementing the RMI program, remote method invocation program. First, what we need to, step one, note it down, students. Step one, first we need to create the remote interface. These are the steps of RMI program, remote method invocation program. First, we need to create remote interface. Second point, have you noted? Second point, provide the implementation of remote interface. First, we need to create the remote interface. Second one, provide the implementation of remote interface. Next, third step, compile the implementation class and create the stub and skeleton. Yes, this is very important point, students. First, we need to compile the implementation class and create the stub and skeleton objects using RMIC tool. RMIC tool is used to this. Note it down, students. The tool name is RMIC tool. This tool is used to create the objects, skeleton and stub and skeleton. This is the fourth point. Next, this is third point. Fourth point, start the registry service by using RMI registry tool. This is also one tool which is used to start the services. Okay, service you need to check in the start button. You can search services. Here you find this RMI service in your machine. Students, just once check in your system. Next, lastly, create and start the remote application. This is what are these are the steps while writing the RMI program. First one, just I'm repeating, create the remote interface and provide the implementation of remote interface and compile the implementation class and create. This is very, very important. Create the stub and skeleton objects by using RMIC tool. RMIC tool. Next, last but one step, start the registry service by using RMI registry tool. And lastly, create and start the remote application. Okay. Here, these are the components. We have discussed about stubs and skeletons, right? These stubs and skeletons, what is the responsibility of stub? This will, this we have discussed, and this is the remote reference layer, and this is the transport layer. This transport layer will provide end-to-end communication between client program and server program. Transport layer is responsible for end-to-end. Okay, in this way, the RMI system will implement. The RMI system will be implemented. Okay, just go through the students. I will share the some implementation of RMI picture also. Just go through this, and in tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss about next topic, distributed garbage collection, that is DGC. Okay, in tomorrow's class we will discuss about distributed garbage collection. Thank you, students.